Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by DKI Canada. Across the street, across the country. He was a phenomenal goalie and has become one of the most astute analysts in the game of hockey. Kelly Hrudey is also an important advocate for mental wellness. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from Edmonton, now calls Calgary home. He was a goaltender extraordinaire, WHL All-Star with the Medicine Hat Tigers, drafted in the second round by the New York Islanders. He played for Indianapolis, where he won 2 times the Terry Sawchuk Award as the CHL's top goaltender. He won the Tommy Ivan Award as the CHL's MVP. He played 16 NHL seasons with the Islanders, Kings, and Sharks, went to the Stanley Cup final twice, a studio analyst for Hockey Night in Canada, a game analyst for the Calgary Flames, a mental health advocate, and a co-author of a book, Kelly Hrudey, Calling the Shots. Welcome to the program, Kelly Tunes Hrudey. Good to have you here, Kelly.
You've done your research, Joe. Only a handful of people know that my nickname is Tunes. Most people think it's Rudes or something like that, which is normal. But during the 87 Canada Cup, we're always hockey teams listen to tons of music, but I was really into music, and I'm not sure if it was Brent Sutter or Wayne Gretzky that they gave me the nickname Tunes, and those two guys still call me Tunes whenever they see me, so I love it.
So those are just a few that call you Tunes. It was a nickname with that 87. What a great team that was. We're going to get to that in a bit, but I want to start. We like to begin it at the beginning. What made you decide to be a goalie? And by the way, I think we've dug up some footage here that our pal, Paul Patsko, dug up of a young Kelly Hrudey. And I want to ask you, is this really you?
I'm hesitating. I don't think that's me. But you know what? No, I don't think so, because that person looks to be younger. I didn't start playing goal, Joe. Well, I didn't start playing hockey till I was 12. So that looks to be a younger person. Yes.
Okay.
But so how I became a goalie is I think it's interesting anyway. So I was 11 years old, Joe, growing up in Edmonton, like you. And I said to my mom and dad that I wanted to play organized hockey because all my friends are playing and I miss being around them. And so my mom and dad, even though we weren't from a sports family, they gave me the best advice ever. They said, no, why don't you learn how to skate properly for a year and then next year you can join. So I went to the outdoor rink every day after school. And then finally in the summer, when I was 12, going to start playing hockey in the fall, I was playing ball hockey at my friend's house, Jeff Marshall. Still see Jeff all the time, great friend. And we're playing ball hockey, and Jeff and I were having this conversation about what position I might want to play. And Jeff's dad, Fred Marshall, happened to be there, and he overheard the conversation. He said, so Kelly, I don't want to influence you too much, but whenever I watch you guys, the neighborhood kids, play ball hockey and you're in net, you stop the ball way more often than everybody else. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I will. So that's how I got in net. And then for anybody watching this, if you've ever played goal, from the very first time, it's intoxicating. It's so challenging. Every day is different. Every day you learn new things. And so I stuck with it. As you can imagine, Joe, I was 12, so I had a late start. I was way behind everybody else. I wasn't very good, but I just loved it. And I never had any aspirations to play professionally. It just so happened I got better and better, especially when I was around 16 or 17. That's how that dream happened.
And if it wasn't for Jeff Marshall, you would never have been a goaltender. So that's pretty cool.
I know. You know what I wanted to be in life, Joe? So like I said, you and I were chatting off air. We both grew up in Edmonton. My mom and dad didn't have very much money at all growing up, but we had a little camper. And in the summer, whether it was 1 week or 2 weeks, we'd go out to Banff or Jasper, we'd camp. And oh my gosh, I fell in love with the mountains. My mom and dad gave me the greatest gift, of which I passed on to my children, a love of the mountains. And so I wanted to be a park warden in Banff or Jasper or Yoho or one of those parks. And unfortunately, the game of hockey got in the way and ruined my dreams. So there you go.
You could have been the next Ranger Smith, right? Dealing with Yogi.
Yes.
But you obviously the goaltending move was not a bad one, as we all know. Went to the Medicine Hat Tigers. I got an All-Star nod. Nice run in 79-80. Was it there? And is that what got you noticed by the Islanders? And did you have any inkling that they were going to, take you in the second round?
Yeah. So if you were to hockey DB me, you would see that my first year, 78, 79, would look to be a disaster, right? I know I played 50 some games. I'm not sure exactly how many, but that's a lot for a 17-year-old goaltender, especially. And my goals against average was 6.17, but that's deceiving in the sense I like to make fun of that, hey, if I can have a goals against average that high and make the NHL, anybody can. But the fact is we're a team basically full of 17-year-olds. I think we finished with 37 points. And at the year-end banquet, I was named Rookie of the Year and MVP of the team. So it kind of doesn't paint the right picture when you look at stats. So I was getting pelted with pucks every single game, which really helped me in the sense that I was either going to be done with the game. It would have ruined me, or I was going to get better and better and better, which I did. And so in my second year, as you mentioned, we had quite a bit of success. We went to the Eastern Conference Finals versus Regina. They went, and actually Jeff Marshall was on that team with Regina. They went to ultimately and played for the Memorial Cup. But it was after that second year when I think people started to notice me. And there was a hockey book out there, Joe, and I can't remember what it was called, but all of us read it. It's all about the prospects. And so I looked up my name in that book, and I think it said that I was ranked in the 4th round or something. And oh my gosh, can you imagine a kid growing up in Elmwood? I had no idea that anybody even knew about me in the hockey world. And I'm seeing my name ranked in the 4th round, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I had no agent going into the draft. So draft day, my brother Ken and I were in our mom and dad's basement. It was an undeveloped basement. That's where we played ball hockey. And we were playing ball hockey that afternoon, and the phone rang, and Ken went upstairs and answered it. And guy introduced himself as Jimmy Devlano from the Islanders, and he wanted to speak to me. So I went up there. Jimmy again introduced himself, said that they've chosen me in the 2nd round, and congratulations and all that. And we'll be sending you a letter later this summer about more details. And so we were thrilled. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know the impact on my life. And so we went back downstairs. I'm sure I was pretty jacked, but when we played more ball hockey. And remember back then, Joe, most players, unless you were guaranteed to be drafted in the 1st round, you didn't go to the draft at all. That year is in Montreal. And furthermore, even if you were drafted high, like I was in the 2nd round, it wasn't a guarantee that you were going to go to training camp. So much to my surprise, I don't know when it was, maybe July or August, I got a letter from the Islanders inviting me to training camp on Long Island. And my gosh, what a thrill that was. I played the very first preseason game in Chicago that year, along with Rolly Melanson. Rolly, I played the first 2 periods. I gave up 5 goals and 36 shots. Imagine this. I can't remember. I was 18 or I think I was 19. Can you imagine a 19-year-old kid playing for the Medicine Hat Tigers in Chicago Stadium, and the goaltender at the other end was Tony Esposito? So, wow, I gave up 5 and 36, like I said. Rolly played the 3rd. I was thrilled. About it. I don't know, 5 days later, I was sent back to Medicine Hat to finish my last year junior. What a lifetime. I'm glad we're having this conversation because it's giving me goosebumps right now thinking about that. That was amazing.
What a rush that must have been. Incredible. And Of course, that's the Islanders team that was just about to embark on their 4-year cup run. And that was unbelievable. But during that time, of course, they've got, I think Chico Resch was backing up Battling Billy. So, it was kind of hard to break into that tandem. But in the meantime, you're doing great at Indianapolis. You got a chance to finally get to play with the big club. But tell us about that run in Indianapolis. 2-time goaltender of the year. MVP of the league. So obviously you had some motivation there to try to make this team.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So my first training camp with the Islanders, they had Billy Smith, Chico Resch, Rolly Melanson, Richard Brodeur, by the way, was in camp before they traded him to Vancouver, and he went on that great run with the Canucks for years and years and years. They had a guy by the name of Jim Park, a longtime WHA guy. They brought in a guy, Rob Holland, that had played sometime in Pittsburgh. So I was number 6th or 7th, I believe, on the depth chart. So I had a long way to go. And I knew that after that first preseason game in Chicago. I knew I had a long way to go, but I also knew that this is something that I could do to make a little bit of money. And so I went after my last year junior, I went down and played 2 years in Indianapolis, which was a life-changing experience simply because when you're playing junior, you don't have a lot of expectations, or you don't have a lot of pressure, maybe more so pressure than expectations. So when I went to Indianapolis, I finally recognized that all these guys are doing this for a living. Most were married, most had children. And so they're doing this to make money. They're doing this to feed their family. And so it was a realization for me, like, holy cow, this is serious business now. And so we had a great team. The Islanders, as you mentioned, were on their run of 4 consecutive Stanley Cups. We in Indianapolis won the championship 2 years in a row. I won all those awards, as you mentioned. And it was interesting to me when I finally made the Islanders. Bill Torrey called me in the office and said, one of the reasons we know you need to stay at the NHL level, or give it a try anyways, is because your second year in Indianapolis, it looked to us like you were getting a little bit bored with this league. You needed more competition. And I was quite surprised by that, because I didn't recognize when I was going through it, but I did feel as though in my second year that I needed more of a challenge. And so he was right. And then finally I made the Islanders in '83, and that was one of the most incredible moments of my life.
Very intuitive on Torrey's part, no doubt about that.
Yes.
So, okay, now you get called up to the big club. You guys had an amazing rivalry with the Rangers. Was it special to beat these guys? And what was it like to, finally make the big club and be playing against?
Yes.
Look at these saves.
Oh, look at that clip. I for some reason I went down the rabbit hole a couple of years ago, and I saw some highlights from this game. Yes, that was quite an experience. And I was just in MSG about a week ago following the Flames and Rangers. And that building, that rivalry was crazy. It was special. I have the fondest of memories playing against those guys, because there was, back then, that was the early 80s, there was pure hatred between the two teams. And they also had great teams, but they just couldn't get over the hump. They went to the final in 1979, I believe, with John Davidson as their goaltender. And, but the Islanders got on that run. That rivalry between the Rangers and Islanders was special. So was the one between the Islanders and the Flyers. I guess close proximity. That made it very, very special.
I want to ask you, when did you start wearing the bandana, and what was the reason for it?
I want to say, I'm going to have the years wrong. I want to say 85, 86, ballpark around that. And there was nothing special about it other than I started wearing contacts in junior. And for anybody, especially back then, wearing contacts, sweat and contacts don't mix very well. And so I used all sorts of different kind of headbands, and I just didn't find them absorbent enough. And so one day at practice on the island, I just tore up that blue underwear that we used to wear, Stanfield, I think, underwear that we all wore. Yes. And I just cut it up and I tied that around my head for practice. And I was like, holy, I kind of like this. It's a little bit more absorbent maybe. And so I tried fiddling with that a little bit, and somehow it became kind of like my trademark. So much so that at some point when I was playing in Los Angeles, I wanted to get rid of it because I hated it so much, and I hated cutting up all the t-shirts and taking the time. And I think it was my family right here, actually, at our kitchen table here in Calgary. And they were like, no, you've got to keep it, Dad. It's a trademark. And so I kind of reluctantly did. And then when I retired after 2 years in San Jose, I had a whole bunch of the blue bandanas cut up, and I hated them so much I threw them immediately in the garbage after I retired. What a fool, Joe. I could have made money selling those.
Yeah.
Right?
These are real Kelly Hrudey bandanas right here. It's official. Yeah.
Right?
Sweat stained and everything, right? You could have made a lot of money.
Yes.
So
yes.
You talked about having a rivalry with the Rangers and the Flyers, but let's talk about that one game against the Capitals. April 18th, 1987, the Easter Epic, as it's referred to. Game 7, 4 overtime periods, longest Game 7 in history. You had a 73 save effort in that game. What sticks out to you the most about that phenomenal game?
Okay, so oh my gosh, that's the game that put me on the map, really, for like Hockey Canada and just, I don't know, kind of like reputation. So going into that game, well, in that series, we were down 3-1. And so we went to Washington for game 5, and we won 2-1, I believe. Then we went back home, won 5-4, I think, in game 6. Game 7, we're going into Washington without, just fathom this, going into game 7 without Dennis Potvin, without Mike Bossy, without Brent Sutter, and Brian Trottier playing with a separated left shoulder. So the odds were against us. Yet we hung in there. Washington took a 1-0 lead, of which that was a terrible goal by me to give up. I think in the last minute of the first period is a terrible rebound. I think Mike Gartner jumped all over the rebound, put them up 1-0, which could have been a real turning point in the game, giving up a late goal in that period. Then we tied it in the second period. Pat Flatley scored a suspect goal on Bob Mason. Yep. And then the Capitals went up 2-1. Midway through the second, shots at that point were 24-7 in favor of the Capitals. But Brian Trottier, I think with about 5 minutes left, a backhand in the third period scores a goal that went in, snuck in 5-hole on Bob Mason. And the Capitals, I think I can safely say this, had the better of the play in the first 3 periods of regulation. Then in overtime, we started to get our legs. And if not for some incredible goaltending by Bob Mason, it should have ended well before Pat LaFontaine ended it in quadruple overtime. I remember being at the other end and thinking, oh my gosh, how is he making some of these saves? But we hung in there, and ultimately it was a great goal by Pat LaFontaine. Gord Dineen was in on it. Dale Henry, a guy from Saskatoon, one of our role players, was screening Bob Mason at the time. But that game for all of us, I think, sort of changed our reputation in the hockey world, that we could play a meaningful game. We still had guys, like Mike Bossy and Dennis Potvin on the team, but we're a team in transition. We're becoming younger. And so because of that game, I was invited to play for Team Canada, the 87 Canada Cup. The year before, I played for Team Canada in Moscow in the World Championship. So things were sort of happening for me as well.
What was it like? I know you didn't get a chance to play. I mean, Grant Fuhr was the guy from the word go, but you're still part of that team. And what was it like to be involved with that group of guys? One of the best Canadian teams of all time, one of the best teams, period, of all time. Yeah,
it was great to be around those guys, and I was surprised. So in the finals between the Soviets and Team Canada, Game 2, Ron Hextall was the other goaltender, and Ron and I backed up. We alternated backing up Grant. So Game 2 in Hamilton was my turn to back up. So we're going into double overtime, Joe, right? And Wayne Gretzky, of course, he recognized the situation. He recalled, of course, that I played in the Easter Epic just a few months before. So we're walking down the tunnel towards the dressing room. for the intermission, and Wayne grabs my arm and says something like, Kelly, because of your experience playing a long overtime, I want you to address the guys what to prepare for heading into the double overtime. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, first of all, he hits me up with this, and I have to speak to the guys in about 10 seconds.
Right.
So we get to the dressing room, and Wayne stands up and says, guys, take a seat. I've asked Kelly to talk about the upcoming overtime and what to prepare for. And it just immediately hit me, Joe. I was like, well, I know what I remember from that long overtime. I felt, though, is in the first 2 minutes and the last 2 minutes of every period, I didn't have my focus that I needed to for the overtime period. And so I mentioned that. I said, just be ready. Because we're coming off the intermission, we may not have our focus for the first 2 minutes, and you're sort of letting your guard down in the last 2 minutes. So let's make sure we're prepared for that. And so I told the story many years ago on Hockey Night, and Chris Snow, who used to work for the Flames and unfortunately lost his life to ALS, he was doing analytics for the Flames, and he sent me a text. He goes, actually, Kelly, it's been proven it's the first 3 minutes and the last 3 minutes of every overtime that most of the goals are scored. So I was onto something there without having analytics, but I just recalled what I was experiencing.
So prior to that, you and Gretzky had never been teammates before, but you would become, of course, teammates in 1989 after Gretzky was traded there, and then you ended up with the Kings. But what were your thoughts about hooking up with Gretzky and playing in Los Angeles?
Well, Wayne has been on record many, many times saying he's the reason why I was traded to Los Angeles. So Wayne and I had a really good relationship in '87, and he thought that there was a chance that he could get me away from the Islanders. Kind of surprising, because back then there were no rumors. The only thing you could sort of get a rumor from was the hockey news, and that was always at least a week late, maybe 2 weeks late. And so I had no idea. But at the time, I was extremely angry at the Islanders and Mr. Bill Torrey for trading me. I felt deceived. I felt betrayed. I thought I was going to be a lifelong Islander. I had dreams of having a career like a guy like Steve Yzerman. You play for one organization, you win cups, and that wasn't to be the case for me. But what I did discover, a couple of things, Joe. I was 28 years old when I was traded. I went and played 8 years in Los Angeles. And I turned out to absolutely love it. I love the experience of living in LA. I love playing for the Kings. And it happened to be a period of growth in my life, professionally and personally, that I had the biggest growth in that age, 28 to 35, 36 ballpark in there. So looking back upon it, it happened to be the best thing that happened in my life professionally. And I always recall fondly looking back at those days and thinking, wow, what an experience to have gone through that whole thing, playing hockey in Los Angeles, watching the growth of the game. Wayne, of course, started all that, but a whole bunch of us that played on those teams in those years, we always talk about the growth of hockey. I think when I went to Los Angeles, there were 2 rinks. There was the Great Western Forum where we played, and there's the Culver City ice rink where we practiced. And San Diego, they had a long history of hockey. They had a couple of rinks, but there weren't any of the community rinks that now are there. California, I can safely say, is now a hockey hotbed, and it's, in my opinion, based solely on the arrival of Wayne Gretzky and his impact in Southern California in hockey. And so I'm proud to say that I witnessed all that. And because of Wayne, there's so many great hockey players coming from California.
Yeah, and it's not just California. It's Arizona. It's South Florida. It's like, I was just thinking about the other
everywhere.
Texas, and think about. I don't know if I'd like to play an all-star team from Arizona. Austin Matthews, Matthew Nyes, Keller, Clayton. Shane Doan's kid.
Keller,
and there's. That's a pretty strong lineup right there, right? So
St. Louis as well. St. Louis,
Right.
like they're alumni.
Yeah.
They're heavily involved in the youth programs in St. Louis and Missouri, and they're developing a ton. I've been told Nashville also could be the new hotspot. Tennessee, they love hockey, and so they're developing a ton of young players. So it's really exciting for all of us that are older. And I started in the NHL when there was only 21 teams, I believe, and to see the growth of the game right now and what Gary Bettman and everybody has done, it's beyond exciting.
Yeah, and we had Blake Jeffrey on the show as well, and so
I saw that.
If not for the injury, who knows what Blake would have done, right? So anyway, you lead the Kings to the Stanley Cup final in 1993, and of course, I want to talk about a couple incidents. First of all, the slash by Gretzky on Gilmore, being broadcasting in Toronto at the time, this one got a lot of attention. What do you think? Did Kerry Fraser screw up? Did he screw up?
Well, in hindsight, yes. But at the time, like, you're asking a guy, I was, 190 feet away from it. So clearly I didn't see what happened. So, and I'm not dodging the question. I've of course watched the video since, but at the time, Kerry, and I can't recall who the two linesmen were, they huddled and they had a conversation, and apparently or evidently they didn't see the high stick. It should have been a call, I suppose, but Al Arbor always taught all of us that some calls will go your way, some calls go against you, and you have to live with it. And that happened to be a call that went against Toronto. It was in our favor. But here's what I say to Leaf fans that still complain about it, and I laugh about that. You still had Game 7 in Maple Leaf Gardens to annihilate us, and you didn't. So there's that. How do you like that?
Right. And that,
by the way,
sure.
By the way, it's still a great compliment when I'm in downtown Toronto and I'm walking the streets or I'm out for dinner and somebody comes up to me and says, I still hate you from 93. And it's a real compliment to me. And I don't take offense to that. I just, people are very honest and they love their Leafs, and they should. And so it's a great experience to go through that with the fans.
Yeah, the great non-call aside, that would have been wiped out, Kelly, had the Leafs done anything since then. But of course, they haven't either. So that eventually we will forget about that non-call. But the other one, of course, was you guys are up. It's 1-0 in the series. You're up late in the game against Montreal, with a chance to take a 2-0 series lead back home. And of course, what did you think? What do you think about that stick infraction that Jacques Demers decided to call?
Yep. Okay, so there's a backstory to this. So first of all, I'll defend Marty in the sense that Marty's one of the reasons why we had great teams in LA. He had improved himself from when he first started in Pittsburgh and then was traded to Edmonton. He was known more for fighting, but just through sheer hard work and determination, Marty became a great player. Like, he was really skilled. If you look at his points totals, he was a pretty high scoring defenseman, and nobody would have ever expected that. So that's all on Marty and his determination. We never would have gotten that far in those playoffs without Marty's great work. So it turned out to be an unfortunate incident for Marty and for us, and we ultimately lost the series. But here's a backstory that I like to share with a lot of people. So for about 2 periods of every game, I personally used an illegal stick. So my stick blade was too long and it was too wide. But usually in the third period, sometimes in the second period, if I felt it was a close game and I felt that maybe the opposing team might want to call me for using an illegal stick, I would switch at that point to a legal stick. And I had a method of finding out, of knowing which stick was legal and which wasn't. So I won't get into that, but so when I saw Jacques Demers motioning the referee to measure a stick, I was excited because I thought, holy cow. Because what I used to do in the morning skate, I would try and bait the other team. I would leave broken sticks in the trash pail hoping that maybe the other team's trainer would find it and go, holy cow, Hrudey's using an illegal stick. So that night, or that morning at the morning skate, I left an illegal stick in some garbage can somewhere. And so when the referee's coming towards me, I'm thinking, oh, this is perfect. He's going to ask for my stick. Of course, it's legal. And then they'll have a penalty and we'll be on the power play late in the game. As it turns out, they chose Marty's stick. I had no idea. I don't know if any of my teammates did, but it was illegal. And unfortunately, Desjardins scored a power play goal on me. And then he scored the overtime winner. I knew we were in trouble in the intermission, Joe, because there was quite a chaotic scene in our dressing room after regulation. And we were not of the mindset to start overtime on time.
Yeah, and the thing is too, you would come off a couple of tough series, the one with the Leafs, and it seemed that you guys were a little bit tired, and then and then you have that that incident go against you, and it just seemed to drain air out of the balloon, and it just was unfortunate. Yeah. Anyway, though, it was a great run, and we have a save here that you may remember. This is February 12th, 1995, against the Red Wings. And it's a 4-4 tie. Sergei Fedorov with the chance to win it on a penalty shot in overtime. But Kelly Hrudey makes the save. That saved a 4-4 draw. What was significant about this and the save? And what do you remember about that?
Okay, so we were fighting for our playoff lives. I recall this vividly, of course, because it's overtime, as you mentioned. We played the night before in Toronto. I played. This was in a time in which goaltenders played back-to-back often. So I think I had 40-some saves and a win the night before in Toronto. That night in Detroit, I think I had 40-some shots again. But if you look at the score sheet, Joe, Fedorov had scored all 4 goals for Detroit that night.
Right.
And so he had a chance to go for his 5th goal of the game with that penalty shot. And you could see by Wayne Gretzky's reaction, he quickly jumped off the bench and came and gave me a hug because we needed the points desperately. We had a tie. Then we went from there directly to Dallas, and we played a couple nights later. We won there. So we were still in the hunt for our playoff lives. I think that year we missed by maybe a point or something. I can't quite remember, but anyways, that was a really important game for us. And I definitely recall that one.
Rose to the occasion. It's a beautiful Tilley save, by the way. We've got a little pat on there. So, yes. You mentioned how much you enjoyed things in LA. We actually have a commercial. I believe it was an ESPN spot at the time. Let's roll a piece of that.
that was the thing. We were all doing that. Yes. That commercial, as simple as that looks, that should have taken, well, in my opinion, that was right after a practice. I think that should have taken 15 minutes. But if I'm not mistaken, that took like 3 hours to put together. And so that was really fun. It kind of reminds me of, I sort of learned a little bit about television back when I played for the Islanders, and I did a show called Reading Rainbow. And with LeVar Burton, he was the host. Yeah. And of course, LeVar had an amazing acting career previous to that and after that Roots. As well. And so I was, yes, of course. And I was so excited to have done that taping with LeVar Burton. I think we ran into each other a couple of times in Los Angeles after. So that was a great memory of mine.
Yeah, I think I've got another commercial spot for you. This one's called Rudy's on duty tonight. Let's roll some of that, Vic.
7:30, I'm okay, so drop the puck and fire away. But you're gonna need lots of light, our red light, because Rudy's on duty tonight. So hey, one more time, who's gonna mind that net tonight? I done told you once, boy, Rudy's on duty tonight.
Oh my God!
So tell us
that guy.
Yeah.
Yes, that guy's name is Harry Perzigian. Unfortunately, Harry passed away a couple years ago. But Harry was a rocker, of course. He was a songwriter. So he wrote songs for heavy metal bands, those big hair bands. And I got to know Harry. So that's his brother Steve, by the way, on the keyboards. And Harry was this rocker, and he would always yell at me. And he had front row seats at the Great Western Forum. I thought he hated me because he was always yelling. But until I kind of paid attention, I didn't recognize at the time, he was cheering me on all the time. He was a big fan. And so we got to know each other. So that everybody brings that up. Hrudey on duty. I loved it. My kids used to love playing that in the family room back in LA.
Yeah, my buddy of mine is a real estate guy, and he's Hrudey on duty. Yeah, same kind of thing. But you talked about this, of course, in the book and other interviews. But tell us about your emotional struggles, how you identified it, and how you got through it.
Okay, so and you're of course talking about mental health, and we're a big advocate, our family. Yeah, so. I was writing my book in 2017, and I have to go back further. So when Caitlin, our youngest daughter, it was in the summer of 2004, we started to recognize signs with Caitlin that things were off, and we didn't recognize early enough that she was having mental health issues. And so it was when she was going in grade 7, Donna, my wife, was driving her to school, first day of school, and she couldn't get out of the car. Literally, she couldn't get out of the car. And Donna told me later that if only you could have seen the look of sheer fear and horror on her face. So we knew at that point that Caitlin needed help. So we're able to get her to see a child psychologist. She went for years and years and years until about 4 years later, she came to us one day, Joe, with the most profound statement. She said, "Mom, Dad, I'm starting to have more good days than bad." And so, wow, when your child says something like that to you, you recognize how bad it was. We knew, but, going through the whole experience and learning about mental health and ways to get out of it and breathing exercises and all these other exposure therapies and other things that we learned along the way. And so when I was writing my book, and Caitlin, by the way, went public in 2013, Joe O'Connor with National Post and Lauren LaRose with Canadian Press wrote beautiful articles about Caitlin and her path to wellness and her struggles. She still struggles to this day with OCD and anxiety, but she's given the tools. She has the tools to get through each day. And so in 2017, when I was writing my book, it occurred to me, holy cow, when I was sharing my story in 1992 and 93, that was a mental health episode that I was going through. I didn't recognize it until I was really looking at myself and what was going on. And so in the summer of 92, I started to have thoughts, Joe, about I was entering my 10th year in the league. Average career is about 3. Donna was pregnant with Caitlin. And I started to have these rational thoughts like, how much longer can I do this? How much longer can I be at the top of my game? Those are, I think, rational questions anybody would have, in particular in a career in which is usually short-lived. And then I started to wonder how I was going to pay the bills after and all that. But those thoughts went from rational to irrational. Like you no longer can keep up at this level. You're a fraud or whatever, and started to wonder what I would do with my life after I was done playing. And those became all compelling. And if you know anything about mental health, the loop was going round and round and round. I had no idea. I didn't have the tools how to break the loop. And the thoughts became louder and louder and louder until finally in January of that year, Barry Melrose, my wonderful coach with LA, recognized that it wasn't a physical problem I was having, but mental health issues. And so he introduced me to Tony Robbins. And wow, what a game changer that was. So I met with Tony on a one-on-one basis many times that year, got myself out of a funk. That's the year we went to the finals in 93 with the Kings. And I always told Barry this, I'm forever indebted to Barry for helping me, because most people in sports back then would have just traded me or sent me to the minors, would not have been interested in any way in helping me mentally. So amazing. So then in 2019, we're at Predator Ridge, this beautiful golf course in British Columbia that Don and I and our family love to go to. I call it my happy place. And in that summer, Nick Kypreos was let go from Sportsnet. And those thoughts immediately came back to me like, oh boy, I'm older than Nick. Why am I still here? I had, again, they started with rational thoughts. How much longer can you do it? I want to say, Joe, that I was probably entering around my 20th year on Hockey Night in Canada. That's an awfully long time to be on a TV show. And then my thoughts were real. And they started to go from how much longer can I do it? Well, to stay on the show, I better be perfect, which is incredibly or it's stressful. Unrealistic to think that, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to be perfect on live television. It just doesn't happen to anybody. There's mistakes every single day, and you have to just learn to roll with that. So then those rational thoughts again went to irrational, and my brain was telling me things that it was trying to ruin me. I had all these thoughts. I knew about the loop. I knew that I needed help. I told my family, but for whatever reason, Joe, I didn't go see somebody for my mental health until about a year later, which was stupid on my part. It was lonely. It's way too difficult to do it on your own. So if you're out there watching this, if you feel like you need help, please try and get the help you need. I saw somebody for my mental health weekly for months and months and months and months. It's still something that I should do actually more often, just to stay on top of it. But the reason we share as a family is because it gives me great comfort. I find there's a community that I'm a part of on social media. So when I share that I'm not doing great, for me, it's really heartwarming and all the messages. And I usually respond personally to everybody that's going through something as well. The one thing that I say, and I hope you take it, if you're going through something, please get the help you need, but you don't have to share. If you don't want to share, don't. It's not for everybody. Just share with your close family members, because that's definitely a source of strength for me when I'm having a bad moment. And they come often still. I call my wife, and she helps me through it. So there are things here that we can all do together. Just know that you're not alone, and we're this community. We're all in this together. And as Ron McLean, I'm actually wearing a More Good Days hoodie today for this call. And Ron McLean and I were sharing something. Our good friend Michael Landsberg, he has Let's Talk. That's an incredible program. And oh boy, Michael's done amazing work. And so Ron and I were texting one day about mental health, and in only brilliant Ron McLean fashion, his last text to me that day was inner peace. What a quest. And so that's what we're searching for, right, Joe? We're searching for more good days. We're searching for inner peace. And that's what this is all about for all of us.
Yeah, you talked about you only have to tell as many people as you feel comfortable telling, and that's
yes.
They're going to everywhere going. I mean, my deal is I'm a recovered alcoholic. I've been sober for 32 plus years coming up, and so anyway, So I refer to that loop you're talking about, that voice in my head is the liar. Because the liar, with my disease, wants me dead or insane and won't stop until I'm dead or insane. Yeah. So I have no defense. I have to go to a spiritual place in order to find that defense. I have to share with others. I have to be, and helping others is a huge part of it. We have to, be there for other people and and we get so much more out of that than we could ever imagine. I used to think it was, when I first got sober, hey, it's all about me. I need you to help me. I need you to know the real kick is getting a chance to help other people, being part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. Oh boy. And that's a beautiful thing. And I want to ask you, we all know you from the fabulous work you do with Hockey Night in Canada. The folks on there, are they supportive? You talked about Ron and, what was the line you said? What a quest.
Inner peace, what a quest.
Yeah. So you obviously get a lot of support from these guys, and they know your story. So what's it like on the desk? Are you guys as tight as it seems?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. We've got a great crew. So most people just see the on-air crew with Ron and Jennifer, Kevin, Elliot, David, Amber, all of us. And we are extremely close, extremely tight. We're all very supportive of each other. Like, I've got great support. I know that, like, I keep this laminated index card on the desk every Saturday to get me through if it's a tough show, if it's a tough day for me. And I've got 6 bullet points on that card. And everybody's amazing, but I have to mention all the people behind the scenes that are so helpful, like our producer, Brian Spear, Ed Hall, my boss, Rob Corte, one of my top bosses at Sportsnet. I remember a number of years ago, Joe, during the pandemic, my wife and I were going for a walk here in Calgary, and I'd sent out something about my unwanted guest has arrived and I've got to fight through this or whatever, and I will. But Rob Corte, my boss, saw that and he called me immediately and he said, "Oh, sorry to hear this, Kelly. Do you need some time off?" And here's how my brain works, Joe. So immediately I thought, yes, that would be great. But I knew that I had to fight through it because my bad part of my brain that wants to ruin me would win then, because it's telling me things like I can't do it anymore. You can't go to air. You're not good enough. It's doing all these things that want to shatter my confidence. So if I were to say, I need some time away, that bad part of my brain would win, and I've got to win. The good part of me's got to win, and it's very important for me to get through a day which is uncomfortable so that I can prove to myself that I'm good enough to do it. And the person I see for my mental health, how's this for another profound line? So I had never considered it. And he said to me, "You deserve this success." And I'd never considered that ever. And so that's actually on that little laminated index card I carry. That's the last line I have in there. And I truly believe that now, because I'd never considered that. I was always so hard on myself, like a lot of people, but that line gives me great comfort. And so, yes, I am extremely well supported at Sportsnet, and those people are amazing to me.
Yeah, it's there's lots of evidence there, Kelly, to support that fact that you deserve this success, and you do a fantastic job. And the evidence is overwhelming, but you still got that voice, because I know it, right? That tells you wake up with that anxiety sometimes, and I've got self-doubt and all this stuff's going on. It said, don't listen to the freaking liar, right? The liar is right. It's just that, right? Yeah. So I just want you to put your analyst hat on for just a moment before we let you go. And, you were 5'11", 190 pounds, pretty much tiny compared to most goaltenders today. Although I did notice that with the Calgary Flames, this kid, Dustin Wolf, he's 6 foot, 166 pounds listed that way anyway. But look at these other guys. Anthony Stolarz at 6'6", 243. Vasilevsky, 6'4", 230. Tell me, is height, size an advantage for a goaltender? And is it possible for the smaller goalie to have success still?
Okay. The second answer or question is yes, it's possible for what they now call the undersized goaltender to have success. And there are many signs of the NHL changing a little bit and scouting changing. So it used to be 10 years ago, maybe in around that ballpark, that scouts would tell you, or teams would tell scouts, don't even look at a guy unless he's 6'3" or 6'4" and taller. Anything under that, don't even bother. And now, and that's changing. There are a number of guys, including Dustin Wolf, Juuso Saros. I was doing some rosters here a couple of days ago, and there's another guy 6 feet tall. So it's trending in the other way, in the other direction now. If you're good, you're just good. But is there an advantage to being tall? Of course there would be. You're just taking up more room. And so in certain situations, it would be an advantage. But I wish I had that, because I don't recall, but Vasilevsky is one of the guys. There are only 3 goaltenders in the history of the game, 6'4" and taller, that have ever won the Stanley Cup. So if you look at that, it's not a huge advantage, and the numbers would tell you that anybody can win a cup if you're good. So there's my little
there you go.
Scouting report for you, right? Like size can make a difference for sure. But Dustin Wolf, Juuso Saros, those 2 guys in particular are proof that if you're good, you can win games. Okay, one final question on this route. All 7 Canadian teams at this point, this juncture, have a shot to make the playoffs. Is there a team or teams that you're saying this is one that's has a really super good shot at going all the way? Well, Toronto's a great team. There's no doubt about that. They of course have the only question moving forward is what can they do in the playoffs? And I think Craig Berube will really help that. I'm just glancing at my laptop because I knew we'd have some hockey questions. And so I want to make sure. Well, I'm really cheering for both Ottawa and Montreal. They're very compelling stories. We at Hockey Night and Sportsnet, of course, are cheering for the Canadian teams because it makes our coverage that much better. Winnipeg's a great, great team. What a test yesterday they had with Washington. Edmonton, boy, they need those 2 guys healthy, of course. And Vancouver and Calgary. I mean, every story seems to be compelling. They different storylines, and it's just so exciting right now. And I'll be glued to the television every single night. Like I was telling my broadcast partner John Abbott during the broadcast last night, we're doing the Flames game, and Monday was the night off for me. Right, Monday was the night off for me. I'd been on the road for 10 days, and yet I still felt the need to watch the Vancouver Canucks and the New Jersey Devils. So I'm watching hockey every single night, even though I should take a couple nights off, but it's too good right now. Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be, I hope for Sportsnet's sake and all of Canada's sake that all the Canadian teams sneak in. That what a fantastic deal that would be. And a couple of them make it a long, long way. Okay, finally, Kelly, we're partnered with a group called Believe, Become, Be You. It's a mentorship program for kids 10 to 17, inspired by Sean Gindy, led by Papa Jack. What's the message that you would have for any kids who might be struggling to find their way? Just be open and share with people what you're going through. Because life is a whole lot easier if we just share what we're going through, and communication's important. I know young kids, and I've learned it from my children, although they're adults now, that, people are more interested in sharing what they're going through, and it's a safer place to be. And just don't do life alone because it's too difficult. Yeah. Reach out, and there's lots of help, and it's never as dark as it seems when we're stuck in here. No. Right? It's never as dark as it seems when we're stuck in there. Okay, finally, you made a commercial spot in Calgary, and we wanted to play that one. Producer Victor wanted to be listen to this cat. Whoa!
Where'd you get the goalie equipment from? Garage sale. Sweet deal too. Only $10. Really, hon? $10? Where did you get your nice Nissan Rogue from? Oak Nissan, of course.
With a no-pressure car buying experience, short wait times for service.
Oh, beautiful. Donna did a great job, I think.
Oh, boy. I'm partnered with Oak Nissan. They're great people, and they share with us our belief about helping others and mental health, and so it's a great partnership. I love those guys. Thanks, Kelly. We wanted to know with that. So anyway, I want to say thank you so much for taking this time and for being so open about your journey. And once again, there's a look at the book, Kelly Hrudey, Calling the Shots, Ups and Downs, Rebounds, My Life in the Game of Hockey, written with Christy McClellan Day. And thank you so much, Kelly. It's been an awesome conversation. Thank you. This was awesome, Joe. Thanks so much for the invite. Hopefully we can do this again.
I'd love to, buddy. Anytime. All right. And when we come back, saying goodbye to a boxing legend and a wonderful person, just like Kelly Hrudey. Back after this. In 1992, the best locally owned restoration companies came together with one goal: to make disaster recovery better for Canadians. And to this day, DKI remains one of the only 100% Canadian-owned disaster restoration groups in the market. Fire, flood, or storm damage. When things go wrong, the right help makes all the difference. With the right tools and local expertise, we handle everything from emergency response to full-scale restoration, getting homes and businesses back on track the right way. Because a home is more than four walls, a business is more than a building, and recovery is about more than repairs. When you choose DKI, you're choosing a company that's put Canada first since 1992. Locally owned, nationally backed, Canadian through and through. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Today, we remember boxing legend George Foreman, who passed away at the age of 76. Foreman's journey from a troubled youth to Olympic gold medalist in 1968 to a two-time world heavyweight champion is truly remarkable. In 1973, he claimed the heavyweight belt by knocking out the great Joe Frazier. After losing to Muhammad Ali in the famed Rumble in the Jungle in 1974, Foreman would turn to preaching. Then he made an inspiring comeback in 1994 at the age of 45, becoming the oldest heavyweight champion of all time by stopping Michael Moore. It was one of my favorite sporting moments of all time. Beyond the ring, Big George became a successful entrepreneur with the launch of the George Foreman Grill, selling over 100 million units. He was an all-around wonderful human being. Today, we honor George Foreman's legacy. Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, it seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at believebecomebu.com. That's believebecomebu.com.
And we want to thank all the folks who make the show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, check out all of our shows on YouTube. Our past shows are there, clips and shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Our socials are at Joe Swiss Tilley on Instagram and Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show on Facebook. We're not on X. I pulled the plug on that one. Thanks once again to Kelly Hrudey for joining us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today, and let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Hi, I'm Joe Tilley, and I want to tell you about the painting pros. Patrick and his crew recently came into my home and they painted the walls. They added some color. It's fantastic. And I can't be more satisfied with the work they did. That crew is tremendous. They were professional. They were courteous. They were respectful. And they did a fantastic job. Look at that. Look at that color. I just can't stress enough how satisfied we truly are with Patrick and his crew. For all your painting needs, go with the pros. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Another must-do experience is a luxurious cruise down the Nile River. The ship was elegantly furnished with premium facilities, including a spacious lounge and a swimming pool. The cabins were comfortable, well-appointed, offering panoramic views of the Nile River and the surrounding landscape. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com.